What I want to say, everybody, is that the IRS is now announcing a new change that will affect millions of taxpayers this year. Laws have been put forward that will give seniors bonus relief checks. State lawmakers are also considering another round of relief, and so be sure to keep watching because we got a lot of news to talk about. For instance, the federal income tax brackets, everybody. And standard deductions are now in effect, potentially giving Americans a chance to increase their take-home pay and shield more of their income from the IRS. So far, the IRS announced that the higher limits for the Fed and standard deductions in October. This increase is intended to avoid a phenomenon known as bracket creep, which happens when taxpayers just push into higher brackets and higher income brackets and higher income brackets. The IRS has made adjustments annually, but in times of painfully high inflation, the increases are more and more significant and actually impactful for taxpayers. It's getting pretty bad out there for the people who need money the most. Inflation has hovered around a 40-decade high for much of the 2022 year, and the higher thresholds where tax rates actually take effect could mean savings for millions across all income brackets. So here's what taxpayers need to know this year. The IRS is increasing the tax bracket by about 7% for both individual and married filers across different types of income spectrums. So the IRS increased thresholds for several positions, including the earned income credit, with families now eligible to receive $7,400 if they have 3 or more qualifying children. That's like up to $7,000 for tax year 2022. So like the child independent care credit and even the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit also got a temporary boost from the American Rescue Plan. Maximum earned income tax credit payouts for those workers jumped from $500 to $1,500 last year. More than 29 million returns claimed earned income tax credit as mid-July 2022. That's what the IRS stats even showing us. In the same period 1 year earlier, 7 million fewer returns had claimed the credit for their tax year refund. That's what the agency figures said. Employers can contribute more to the health flexible limiting accounts, and with the maximum contribution at $3,000, it's a ton of money for people who don't even have any money. The new year is bringing in new laws, even in the state of Texas. For the first time in history, new bills giving property tax breaks to those who are disabled, over 65. So if you're an old person, you're getting stimulus checks, because according to CBS, the new law will help people stay in their homes. The Texas state senator believes it's important for homeowners to get some type of relief and some type of help, because you guys need help. And it's true. Fresh from issuing a $300 tax rebate, the Hawaii governor has announced considering another tax refund this year. But unlike the previous rebate, everybody, this one time is for the middle class and the low-income residents, struggling with Hawaii's cost of living and inflation, and also the addictions. We're looking for all types of support that we can do for the state. That's what the director said. And he also said that sources say the tax refund can get anywhere from $100 million to $300 million. That's a lot of money going to people. But while the economy is expected to head into recession, people think that some states will avoid recessions. And I definitely... So $1,400 stimulus package, everybody, is here. There's a huge update on it, and I want you to know this, that President Biden is working with Democrats and Republicans to take immediate action on the next relief legislation. The top lawmakers are debating on how much the next round of stimulus relief payments should be worth. Now, President Biden is trying to take action immediately and address the rising inflation. Biden said he could drop some of the tariffs imposed against imports to control rising consumer prices in the United States. This comes just as the Wall Street braces for another inflation report north of 8%. The White House is reviewing the penalties imposed under the former president, and according to CNBC, this raised prices on everything from diapers to clothing and furniture. Biden has said he is thinking about opting to remove tariffs altogether. The extent to which removing the former president's tax on products would cool inflation is a matter of debate among economists. But many say easing or removing the tariffs together is among the few options available to a White House that's eager to pull every lever available to ease the cost. The president reiterated that the crisis has caused the prices in the United States to jump at the fastest pace since the early 1980s. Biden said in his speech that I want every American to know that I am taking inflation very seriously. The first cause of inflation is a once-in-a-century crisis. Not only did it shut down our global economy, it threw supply chain and demand completely out of whack. Economists say the crisis is to blame for inflation, 8.5% rise over the last year. An economist polled by Dow Jones expect that report to show inflation rise 8.1% in the 12 months, ending in April. While some economic measures have staged remarkable rebounds, the United States employment rate held low, steady low, at 3.6% last month. Higher gas and grocery bills continue to erode paychecks and sparked angst among the country. Biden has said in recent weeks that He sought to ease frustrations through regular speeches, and last week, Biden touted sizable reductions in the federal deficit this fiscal year, as a key departure from what he characterized as rampant spending by his Republican predecessor and a step toward fiscal responsibility and lower prices. Republicans argue that the rash of inflation is in large part thanks to Democrats' ambitious economic policies, including trillions of dollars in stimulus relief in the American Rescue Plan, as well as the infrastructure law that President Biden signed. The GOP also points out that federal spending might have been higher and the expected deficit even larger if President Biden and his Democratic colleagues had managed to pass a suite of climate, housing, and workforce legislation known as the Build Back Better plan. Biden told reporters, "What's the congressional Republican plan? They don't want to solve inflation by lowering your costs. They want to solve it by raising your taxes and lowering your income." Now, President Biden has also taken a hard look at canceling some federal student loan debt. But even a broad forgiveness plan may leave out some of the 43 million borrowers across the country. He has indicated that if he does not take action to provide some student loan forgiveness, he may limit the relief to $10,000 per person, as well as exclude wealthier borrowers. Joe Biden's administration has already canceled more than $17 billion of the $1.6 trillion in outstanding federal student debt by expanding existing forgiveness programs for public sector programs and borrowers who are defrauded by for-profit colleges. In addition, he extended the crisis-related pause on student loan payments 4 times, most recently moving the expiration date from May 1st to August 31st. Now, everybody, these actions fall short of a campaign pledge that Biden made to more broadly cancel student debt. He's also facing pressure to do more for Democrats, who are urging him to cancel $50,000 per borrower. Earlier this month, the White House press secretary said the president is using his campaign comments about providing student loan forgiveness to individuals making less than $125,000.
The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Iowa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized.
Following the pandemic, the nation's workforce needs have drastically changed, and we have a workforce development system that needs to help prepare Americans for the job opportunities of today and tomorrow, not those of the past. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is intended to help unemployed and underemployed workers get the necessary skills to succeed in America's modern economy. Unfortunately, the majority's proposed reauthorization lacks the necessary reforms to help America's workers. Our Republican proposal, on the other hand, would modernize the program to make sure it's employer-driven, which will help America's economy become stronger for decades to come. Our plan puts taxpayer dollars to work where they are needed most, helping job seekers get the skills they need to close the skills gap and get back to work. It does this by bringing more competition into provider marketplace, which expands the pool of skills development providers that meet employers' needs and gives more choice to American workers, and ensuring—
I think so too.